Welcome, everyone, to the Award 7 podcast. I'm Tony Ruiz.
I'm Charlie Bright.
And I'm Rob Lucuria.
And guess what, y'all? We're talking guests this week. We're talking guests, not on our show, but we're talking about guests on the television, guests in films, the people who maybe don't have the most screen time, but definitely make the biggest impact. So this week we're going to be talking about the guest actor categories at this year's Emmys. Who do we think has a shot? Who would we like to promote? And later in the show, we'll be talking about our top 5 film performances, one or two scenes, people who had just a very little amount of screen time but knocked it out of the park. And as we are recording this, we are just one day after the season finale of The Pit. Charlie, you and I have watched it. Rob, you have not. So we are not going to go into any kind of like plot details so that Rob can join us with everybody else on planet Earth who is obsessed with the show.
I will say when it was revealed that it was just a continuation of that autistic kid's dream from St. Elsewhere, that blew me away.
You're spoiling it, dude. Spoiler alert. But like, to be honest, I binged 7 episodes last weekend. I'm going to binge more this week. I think I'll be done by the next weekend. I just really, yeah.
You'll be done within 24 hours from once you start, because you will just go right through it.
It's the most bingeable show ever.
Be a big fan of it.
Oh God, it is so good. It is so good.
Yeah, and actually, before we even go into that, because I do have somebody that I want to highlight on The Pit, but going back, this is a category. I think a lot of people don't realize that the guest actor category at the Emmys only dates back to 1985. That was the first year where there was an official guest actor category. Prior to that, on and off through Emmy history, there were categories called like best single performance. So it would be like, in a limited series or even a drama series where somebody would like come on for one episode and that would get a nomination or a win or something like that. And then it was finally made its own category in 1985. And I believe, at least on drama series, I believe the first winner was John Lithgow for Amazing Stories, which was an anthology series. But anyway, what are some of the performances that you guys remember? Because I have quite a few that are like, close to my heart.
Okay. One that always comes to mind, and it's unfortunate that it lined up the way it did, but it's Gregory Itzin on the final season of 24, because he was so fucking great as evil President Charles Logan in that batshit 5th season. That's the one that won drama series, and after that season, the 24 kind of went down in its quality, and even that final season, it was very rocky. But then in the second half, they brought back Charles Logan, played by Gregory Itzin, and all of a sudden, the quality went up exponentially. And he was so fucking great. And it killed me because it happened to be the same year as John Lithgow on Dexter. And of course, nothing was stopping that train. And honestly, Lithgow should have been in supporting. I think under the current rules, he would be under supporting rather than guest, because it was a crime that he didn't win when he was nominated for that 5th season. He lost to Alan Alda for The West Wing. Very good performance still, but I adored Gregory Itzin on that show. I thought he was so brilliant in that final season.
That's a good one, Charles. You know what I remember? Turn of the century, The Practice was like the show. It's like that was The Pit back then. And it just the amount and the number of amazing actors that would come through that show. It kind of reminded me a bit of all the Law and Orders and how they basically mined Broadway and off Broadway, got every amazing actor in New York City to do a guest role on Law and Order. And for The Practice, they had this amazing run of like John Larroquette in 98. I'm just reading off what I can see on my screen.
It's
Edward
six,
Herman,
six in a row.
99, Edward Herman. 2000, James Whitmore. 2001, Michael Emerson. 2002, Charles S. Dutton. And then they had a break. Charles S. Dutton won again for Without a Trace. That was an incredible episode that he had. And then the following year, William Shatner won for The Practice. They had such an incredible run.
And Sharon
Um,
Stone.
yes. So, like, I will always remember how amazing that was. What I love about the guest categories is every once in a while they'll come up with a show that doesn't usually do well elsewhere, but will just get that one nomination, like The Outer Limits, or I can't think of any off the top of my head now, but that's what I always look for the guest acting categories first. Like, what have they come up with that we're not really expecting, and a show that might just break through there. It's such I love the guest acting categories. It's one of my faves.
Yeah, it's funny because the I've for a long time the guest acting categories was like the David E. Kelly category because
Yeah,
between Picket Fences and Ally McBeal and The Practice and Boston Legal and I'm sure I'm forgetting some other ones too, but it was like David E. Kelly. Actors just wanted to do David E. Kelly scripts just because there's a good chance they would win an Emmy. Of course,
yeah,
then in other times you have the Margot Martindale years, which Charlie's computer screen knows all too well. I
Another one I want to
particularly,
point out.
oh yeah,
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go on.
no, I just wanted to point out there were some years they did this like in the early 80s like one or two times and then they did it once in like 1992 where they integrated the guest actor
oh yeah,
categories into the lead and supporting. And I remember in 1990, I want to say it was 1992, where you had like your usual suspects at the time, which was like, Peter Falk and Columbo, and you had Scott Bakula and Quantum Leap. And then they would be competing against like 1992, Christopher Lloyd
hmm
won for a single episode. And it's a beautiful episode, by the way. He's fantastic. It's a totally deserved win, but he was not the lead actor of Avonlea. He was
no,
on there
how
one
ridiculous.
episode and he won. And like I remember in the comedy categories, like Kelsey Grammer was nominated for playing Fraser Crane on one episode of Wings, and
That's
I'm like,
right.
what? And it was just the weirdest. It can sometimes be a weird thing too. You
It
were going to
can.
say, Charlie?
One of my other favorite wins in that is Christian Clemenson for Boston Legal,
Yeah, that was
because
great.
he was such a standout, and I loved that win also because he was, as I would later find out, he was such an accomplished TV actor by that point. So it was really cool to see him get in there and get the win. Especially up
Mm,
against his co-star that season, Michael J. Fox, who I thought was going to win because it was just like too irresistible for people. But when he ended up winning, I was so happy for him because he
yeah,
really was great as Jerry Espenson on Boston Legal,
and
and I love
I
that they
remember.
eventually made him an actual regular, and he would subsequently get a couple Emmy nominations for that as well.
I remember we were really championing that back in the day. Like it was something that we were really hoping for. When it actually happened, it was such a big deal. I also wanted to point out that I didn't mention, as you said, Sharon Stone, also Alfre Woodard, Bay Richards. Like there's been so many amazing actors who have won for The Practice, let alone be nominated. And then you've got like when I was thinking about The Outer Limits, that was Amanda Plummer, who then won later on for Law and Order SVU, and then a couple of years ago, she was in Star Trek Picard the last season playing a shapeshifter. And I was really hoping that she might do it there again. It didn't happen, but it could have happened because like stranger things have happened in the guest acting categories. And yeah, I always look out for that. You'll also remember a few years ago that The Handmaid's Tale had a really interesting run of 3 years where Samira Wiley won, Cherry Jones won, and of course, probably one of my favorite wins of all time in the guest actress category in a drama was Alexis Bledel. I felt like that was a little bit of like makeup for never being recognized for Gilmore Girls, but she was so freaking good in The Handmaid's Tale.
It was deserved.
Oh, so
Yeah.
deserved. So yeah, love
And I
these
Have
love
either
moments.
one of you have either one of you seen the talking about people who, deserve it. John Goodman's only Emmy for Studio
Studio
60 is for
60.
Studio
Oh
60. I've never
yes.
seen that episode. I've
Oh
never
really?
seen
I've
it.
seen it. I've
You
seen it.
should.
He's good in it. He's
It's
very good in
wonderful.
it.
Yeah, it's really good. So much to look
You were
forward
gonna
to as
you were gonna
well.
say, Charlie?
No, I was going to say he's very good in that episode. He's very good.
Yeah.
Uh, mm,
So, do you guys have? Is there anybody on your radar? Let me tell you who's on my radar. Last year's winner in drama guest actor, of course, was Sean Hattasey for the Pit. He's back this year as Dr. Abbott. Um, and I think by most accounts he's probably going to be the front runner. And he, especially in the finale, he has this just dynamite scene with Noah Wiley that could easily win it for him again. However, I would argue, and Rob, you have not gotten to this point yet, but
mm.
the person I want to give a shout out to is an actor named Jeff Kober, who plays Duke, who is Dr. Robbie's kind of motorcycle riding friend, who plays a really big role in the last 3 to 4 episodes of the season. He first shows up in episode 10, and he's kind of this constant presence throughout, and especially, I want to say last week's episode, especially, where, this is a guy who has been on TV for about 40 years. He's done TV and film for about 40 years. He was originally, the first time I actually remember seeing him, and I'm, again, showing my age here, he was a regular on a Vietnam era show in the late 80s, early 90s called China Beach, that
Oh
won Dana
yeah.
Delaney two Emmys.
My mom was telling me yesterday when we were just about to start catching up on episodes of The Pit. She was like, "Oh, I remembered him from something," and I had to look it up. And she was like, "It was China Beach." That was like one of her favorite shows at the time.
Wow.
That was such a great show. I mean, Dana Delaney's Emmys were so earned but he's so fantastic. See, I was excited because I've seen him in a lot of stuff, but he did this like 2 to 3 year arc on General Hospital, on the daytime soap General Hospital, and won an Emmy. So he actually is an Emmy winner. He won supporting actor a couple of years ago. And he is just spectacular in these episodes as Duke. He's kind of like the guy who is like, he's the one who kind of is Robbie's kind of moral compass and is not afraid to give it back to him because, one of the things that's been kind of the through line of the Pit this season is that Robbie is kind of an asshole and he's certainly dealing with his own demons. And
He's
Duke
almost
is the one.
self-destructive.
He's very
Yeah.
self-destructive. Um, and Duke is kind of the one that kind of gives it to him, but in a very loving and supportive way. And he has this great monologue. I want to say it's either in 13 or 14. I think it's in 14. He has this great monologue where he talks about how, he's done things in his life that he's not proud of. But that, but he does it as a way to kind of show Robbie that you can come back and you can rebuild. It doesn't make the bad things you've done go away. But it was so touching and heartbreaking. And I was just so happy. That character made me so happy. Um, I just thought it was a fantastic performance. Charlie, you agree?
100%. All of my suggestions are from The Pit because that's really the main one I
I
can
think it's going to
remember.
dominate.
And I have 6 performances on there that I would love to see. And Duke
Wow.
was definitely one of them.
What are the others?
Okay,
Do you
so
remember?
my top one, my personal favorite, would be Charles Baker, who plays Troy Digby, the homeless guy
Oh,
who gets cleaned up
Oh,
and
yeah.
oh my God, and has the greatest ending at the end of that episode. My mom and I were howling with laughter with
we were
his
too.
reveal. With his reveal at the end, we were just he's so wonderful in that in those little moments he has with Catherine Manassa, and oh god, the woman who plays that new nurse on her first day,
Yes.
who you can tell in 20 years is going to be just like Dana. Um, I just realized, and I actually in researching this, I realized that he played Skinny Pete on Breaking Bad. Um,
Oh,
Did he
which
okay.
really?
yes,
Wow,
yes,
cool.
yes,
That's
yeah.
cool.
Wow.
Um, Other ones who I would love to
Mm.
see from the pit would be Ernest Hardin Jr., who played our dearly departed Louis.
Mm.
He was so wonderful in that, but in both seasons he's been wonderful. Specific to this season, though, I will also highlight Brittany Allen, who played Roxy, the cancer patient. Who you might remember, Tony. She played Marissa Chandler on All My Children back in I think 2009,
That's where I've seen her
2010.
before.
Oh my
That's
God,
where
he's
I've
Yes,
seen her
amazing.
before.
Yes,
yes.
that's cool.
I thought she was excellent in those episodes that we saw her in. I'd also highlight Tina Ivlev, who played Ilana, the sexual assault survivor who Kathleen Amasa takes care of, as well as Catherine Dillon Ortiz, who played Brenda. She plays the mother of the kid who has heat stroke. He got into her car and
Mm.
took a nap, and she is just absolutely distraught about it. But at the same time, she has these people second guessing her abilities as a mother because they're like, how could she do this? And it was just something of horrible circumstances. And I think she's absolutely fire in. I think she's absolutely wonderful. Um, any of those six, I would love to see, but the one I'm really rooted for is Charles Baker as Digby.
Wow, you know what? I envisage that the two guest acting categories on the drama side could be like pit all over it, and we've seen that happen last year with other shows, and it happened. Yeah, that's what the Emmys do, and so let's be prepared for that. But I've got 2 points. Number one, to be completely honest, I'm waiting for Chris Beechan from Gold Derby, our beloved Chris, to start putting together the lists of the four guest acting categories. That's what I always look forward to. And he usually comes to us and others for like, have you got any ideas? What shows that you watch? But he is the goat. He was the one that I rely on. So hopefully, Chris, if you're watching, we're waiting. We're waiting for you. But in the meantime, what I have noticed, and Tony, you might need to correct me because I'm not sure if Matthew Fox is eligible from the Madison, but it would be a pretty cool nomination if he's only in the first couple of episodes without spoiling too much. So yeah, there's that. I just don't know if
I
there's any
think he
flashbacks.
actually might. I think he's only in 2 episodes,
Yeah,
which
I
there's
think that could be a good
six.
one.
So
Yeah.
I think it's under the 50%.
So if that's the
I'm
case,
gonna have to research. I'll research that while you're talking.
okay, because on IMDb it says he's in 6 episodes. That's not the case. So I just think he would be cool. I know this is a completely ridiculous over estimation, but Paul Giamatti from Starfleet Academy totally deserves a nomination, and I'll freaking love that. He chews every part of that scenery, which apparently now has been all torn down, which is horrible. That show is so good. Love it, love it, love it. He's really deserving. And on the female side, I'm going to be championing this till the end of time. But Shailene Woodley in Paradise, amazing, amazing, amazing. Please watch it. Watch the second season of Paradise if you can. She's so good in that. The first episode, it's just all about her. It's a post-apocalyptic world, and she's living at Graceland, Elvis Presley's home in, is that Tennessee?
Yeah, it's Nashville.
Yeah, in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's really good. And I really, really think she has a very good shot at being nominated because you've got to remember when the Emmy ballots come out and you see who are on those four ballots for the guest acting categories, um, sometimes there's not really a lot to choose from because it's a really hard category to be in because you've got to be in less than 50% of the episodes and blah, blah, blah. And so she will stand out. Unfortunately, she'll probably be at the end of the ballot. And you know how the Emmy voters love to just check off things at the front of the ballot. But if they can make it through to the end, to the W's, I feel like she has a really good shot. So that's all I have so far. By this stage, I would have had more contenders, but I just haven't had a chance to really start thinking about going through each show and working out who might be up for Emmy. So if anybody who's watching this has some ideas, please let us know. I want to start putting together lists of who we think will be nominated in the guest acting categories.
I will also throw out one other person. I would, and this is on the comedy side. It was this very recent, but Coleman Domingo knocked it out of the park on Saturday Night Live last weekend,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
I need to
would
watch
love
that.
to see him. I would love to see him get a guest acting nomination for that.
Yeah, that'd be good. What's been the strongest SNL performance in the last season? What do you think? I haven't seen Coleman yet, but I thought Ryan Gosling was pretty good. He could certainly
Ryan
be in the
Gosling's
mix.
always good on
He's
SNL.
always good, always. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, the new season of Hacks is out, or the screeners are out, and once that starts to really hit over the next few weeks, I think we'll probably get a few indications from that show as well. So yeah, this is very exciting. I love the Emmys. I love the Emmys. I'm sorry, but I
Well,
just
and you know
do.
what's interesting? What I always find so interesting, particularly about the guest categories, is that sometimes they put people on our radar that we hadn't even thought about. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, I think when season one of The Last of Us was going on, was it? Yeah, it was season one. I think Storm Reed. Everybody was like, "Oh God, that's such a great performance," but can she get nominated? Because especially a lot of the struggle with the guest categories is, do people get nominated, and are they once you get in, then you have a fighting chance, because especially back in the old judging panel days, I'm more impressed the fact that that somebody like Storm Reed won without the judging panel. In
Yeah,
the
crazy.
judging panel days, I think we all would have been like, "Oh, great, this is
I was the only one
fantastic."
at Gold Derby. I was the only one at Gold Derby who was predicting her, and that's one of my biggest one of the predictions I'm most proud of. Was predicting her in that, because she was so excellent in that episode.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Oh, you know what I wonder? You know what I wondered? I just happened to pull up the list of guest hosts on SNL this year, and I'm thinking back to um, Ariana Grande was quite good on her episode. Bad Bunny, I mean, the Bad
Oh
Bunny of it all.
yeah. The Bad Bunny of it all. That's happening, surely.
Never underestimate Bad Bunny, or do so
Never.
at your own
Well, I did
peril.
at the Grammys, and look where I am now. Now I'm one of his major fans.
See, all you needed was a little taste, and
That's
then
it. And
off you
now I'm like,
go.
I'm in. So good.
Um,
Oh,
That's a perfect segue to what are we watching? We haven't really talked about what we've been watching,
no.
and I've been watching quite a bit of stuff. But is there anything that you guys would like to highlight, Charlie?
No,
No, no.
I haven't been watching as much lately. I need to do a big catch up. Like, I need to, like, I know I need to sit down and watch the new season of Beef that just came out.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah.
catch up on. I really want to watch the new show on AMC, The Audacity, with
Me
Billy
too.
Magnussen and Zach Galifianakis. Um, and I know there's some. I think there are a couple new animated shows on Netflix I want to check out. There's a couple. There's several things that I need to go through, and I also need to finish up the most recent season of Shorzy on Hulu, which has been filling the void that Ted Lasso left in my heart. So it's been a very
Oh,
welcome presence.
and a large void it was. It is. Um, this is what I
So many
call the
jokes, so little
so
time.
many jokes, so little time. Um, you guys will totally agree with this, I think, and people watching who are like us, crazy, weird awards nerds. This period of time of the year is, to me, is called the reckoning, because what happens is we have been on Oscar alert for so long, watching as many films as we can, blah blah blah, and then trying to fit in as many TV shows as we can as well. But now we're like, okay. I need to watch all these things because I want to, and also because I want to be more informed for the Emmys. And so we have April and May, and then probably beginning of June. And but like I start getting stressed. Like, oh shit, I have I have lists of things I have to tick off, and so that's insane. But that's the way it is. So I've been watching. From the new season of From, so I have screeners for that up to episode 8, and my God, is that a good show? I'm not suggesting it's going to be one of the top Emmy contenders, but it should be. It should be. It's really good. Harold Perrineau is absolutely just gobsmacking. He's incredible in that. The Madison, I'm only watching that because Tony, because of your recommendation, I really trust your judgment. That is absolutely phenomenal. Oh my God. It is so beautiful to look at. You could just turn off the sound and just stare at it. It's stunning. It's like a beautiful painting. Taylor Sheridan, in my opinion, can do no wrong. I would like to do a show one day just on his shows because, like Lioness and The Madison and all of his other shows, I just think are incredible. So there's that. I've been watching Scarpetta with Nicole Kidman, and I love her. I just find it really strange that she's even doing the show because it's just such a odd choice, but it's really good. That's on Amazon Prime. I watched all of Bait with Riz Ahmed. Highly, highly recommend that show. Please watch it. The concept is he's a South Asian guy, struggling actor in London, and there's a rumor going around town that he might be the next James Bond because he gets an audition, and so you can just imagine the vitriol that he starts getting. So it's saying a lot. I
started watching that.
It's very funny. He is incredible in that show. He deserves an Emmy nomination. I think he could even get one if the stars align. So I'm really rooting for Bait. I watched all of Starfleet Academy again on Tony's recommendation. That was an easy watch. We got through that in 2 days. That is, to me, one of the best Star Treks in ages. I cannot believe that it was cancelled. I know they say it's too expensive and it was too woke, whatever the fuck that means, but it is absolutely so good. Holly Hunter, Paul Giamatti, the whole cast. Firstly, I actually don't understand. I don't know what was so woke about it. I really don't. I don't get it. Is it because it had lots of women in it? Is it because it had a kind of gay storyline? Like every show has that. Who cares? It's and Star Trek has always been super lefty anyway. Just go back to the 1960s. So I really love that. And I've also been. So I'm just going to go on. I loved The Pit. Watched 7 episodes. We're going to watch more today and tomorrow. And I started Tehran, which is a show on Apple TV. And given what's going on in the world right now, it's kind of a difficult watch because it's very close to home. And it's because it's about an Israeli Mossad agent who's in Tehran and undercover. But it's just so well done. The music, the cinematography, the performances. Like, really, there is so much good stuff on TV. Like, we could just quit our day jobs and just stare at the TV every day, all day, and we still wouldn't get through it all.
I think that's why we have this podcast, is because we sit and stare at the TV. And then we just stare at a different screen where we stare at each other. So I have been, and I have to, speaking of the Madison, I have a letter about the Madison that we're going to look at in just a few minutes. But I have been catching up on a couple of things. I've been catching up on Shrinking. This is a show that flew right under my radar. I knew of it, but I had not watched any of it. And my God, do I love it. It is so phenomenally funny. Harrison Ford should have been in comedy.
He's so good.
He's so great.
His snubbing in the first season is unforgivable.
Doesn't make sense.
It's absolutely unforgivable.
He should have. He had. I mean, he's great the whole season, but he had an episode, and it's the one where he takes the edible right before the party.
Oh my God,
yes.
That's such a good one.
So fucking funny in that.
Yes. So we're
deadpan humor.
We're gonna finish season 1 probably tonight, and then go on to season 2. So I've been watching that. I've been catching up on I Am a Sucker, as well as loving my true crime as well as watching crime procedurals like NCIS and FBI and all those
All
things
the
that will
acronyms.
never win Emmys. Yeah, if it's an acronym, I'm watching it.
You're there.
But I started this documentary, and I cannot remember the name; just went out of my brain. But it's a Netflix documentary series about of some fundamentalist Mormons in Arizona. And this woman who just happens to stumble upon a massive trafficking ring, and it is so disturbing.
Keep
Uh,
sweet, pray and obey. Is that it? Keep sweet.
uh, no, that's
That's the
not
one
it.
that's about the FLDS, but about
Oh,
specifically, that's the one specifically about Warren Jeffs. And that
trust
one
me,
is
the false
a
prophet.
disturbing one because there's audio of the ceremonies that Warren Jeffs
No
had.
way. Oh,
They had the
really?
audio. I was not prepared for that. And
Oh,
it's seriously one of the most disturbing things I've ever
Yes,
listened
this
to.
is called Trust Me, the
trust me,
False
the false.
Prophet.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's
Sounds
basically
good.
like after Warren Jeffs has gone to prison, and then this random schlub of a guy, and they refer to him as a schlub, literally just declares himself the next prophet, and everybody
Mhm.
and a number of people follow him. Um, Most of the fundamentalist Mormons do not, but some do, including
No, that
these.
most of the FLDS kept with Warren Jeffs,
Yes,
even
I
though he's
know.
in
It's
prison.
like, yeah, pick your child molester. But I just got to the end of the first episode where like these three guys just give this guy their daughters, and it goes to some very disturbing, disgusting places. Um,
As someone who's read Under the Banner of Heaven several times, I am very familiar with how disturbing uh, the various sects of the FLDS are.
yeah. So that one's kind of that's a I won't say fun watch, but it's definitely an absorbing watch. Um, Also, speaking of Taylor Sheridan, Marshalls, which is the first kind of real true spinoff of Yellowstone, which
Oh,
is
I'm dying to
on
watch that.
it apparently it is his most watched. It's the most streamed show, Taylor Sheridan show, particularly in Europe. It's become a huge, just
Even more than the
gigantic,
Madison, more than
even
Yellowstone.
more than the
Can
Madison.
we
Yeah, uh,
He's
can
so
we
good.
basically can we basically call Taylor Sheridan now the white Tyler Perry?
Yes, we can. He's just so
yeah,
prolific. How
and
does he have time to do it?
well, it's very similar to kind of a lot of what David Kelly was doing, in the
Yeah.
90s, picket fences, having Ally McBeal and The Practice all on at the same time, and he was writing the scripts for all of them. Um, but I mean, he's a little bit more tangentially involved in Marshalls, but they just did a two-part episode about sex trafficking on Native American reservations, which is such a huge problem. It's a problem
Right.
that I don't think a lot of people, even in the United States, a lot of people aren't familiar with this problem. And it was so well done. And it brought in real questions about where we put our energy and where we put our time and what happens because we kind of ignore what's going on the reservation in this country. And it was really tastefully done. Um, and I was really, really just that show is way better than it has any right to be, and Luke Grimes is giving an actual like performance.
So good.
So I'm really, and the way it ties into, if you're a fan of Yellowstone, there are enough kind of like Easter egg uh, references and tie-ins to Yellowstone. Um, the train station makes quite a few appearances. Um, and Gil Birmingham as
The
Rainwater
train
is
station.
is a regular makes regular appearances. So that's kind of what I've been watching. But yeah, Shrinking. Oh my God, you know,
Yeah, that first season
I
was so good.
just to watch, it was funny. I didn't like it at first because I was like, God, Jason Segel is just such a schlub in this show, and he wins you over. Oh, and coming back to our original point of the pit, the guy that plays what's Jason Segel's patient's name? Sean,
Oh
the
yeah.
the
Yeah,
black the black guy. He's
yeah.
playing. I think he shows up in the last three episodes of this season of the pit as part of the night crew,
Oh.
and he's so fantastic that I was like, God, I recognize that guy, and I cannot remember. I had literally just watched like three episodes of Shrinking before he showed up. I was like, God, that guy's really good. He seems familiar to me. Totally different character, totally different energy. He's so great, um, and it just makes me want, you know, John Wells and Noah Wiley and Scott Gimel to get off their ass and give me a pit spinoff of the night shift.
Hurry up.
Everybody's talking about it. I mean, even Sean Hannity, talked about it, and now everybody's talking about it. So I was like, come on, give us what we want. By the way, speaking of the Madison and all things Taylor Sheridan, David writes to us, just as you can, awards7@gmail.com. We'll read your letter on the show. He would like to disagree with me.
Oh, again?
Ballsy, ballsy,
Ballsy.
my friend,
Really?
ballsy. But game respects game. So, um, he would like to say that he strongly disagrees with my love of the Madison. He says, I think critics are spot on, and this show is quite bad. If this show was a Hallmark movie mixed with a Lifetime miniseries and an afternoon special from 1987, and they drowned it in maple syrup, it would be far more interesting than what I was watching. Okay, look,
I'm
dude.
hungry now.
Yeah, now you've got me wanting pancakes. Um,
Yes.
how dare you mix Lifetime in with my beloved Hallmark? Them is fighting words. Um, however, I will agree with David that he says the only Taylor Sheridan show I thought rose above rough quality gives us was 1883. Yes, 1883 is a masterpiece. Its snubbing at the Emmys is something that I will never forgive. Now, Rob, you you are the only one of us that have seen Task, correct?
Yes.
Charlie, you haven't seen Task.
I have not seen it.
Okay, so this was David's favorite show of the year. Um, he talks about Mark Ruffalo giving one of his best performances, Tom Pelphrey, of course, and he says, "I'm not. I hope he really gets recognition. I'm not over Tom Pelphrey's snub for Ozark. None of us are.
No, we will never get over that.
I will never get over it.
Nope.
So, he basically wants Charlie and I to watch it, and also take Rob to task for not liking it.
Well, let me just
You're not
dispel
my
that.
supervisor.
Here's the thing. I did not like it. I just wasn't I didn't love it. I just thought it was fine. It's good. And Mark Ruffalo is great. And Tom Pelphrey absolutely deserves a nomination. And he may get one to make up for that ridiculous snub from Ozark. Do you remember when we all thought he was not only the front runner, he was going to win, and he doesn't
Yeah,
even get nominated for what are you and it wasn't just for some show on the CW. We're talking about Ozark, which was getting nominated across the board. So I don't know what the hell happened there, but that was really, really crazy. Hopefully this will be rectified. Task is fine. I just didn't love it. I found it dragged, and I found it was a bit derivative, and stylistically, it wasn't my cup of tea. That's okay. That's the beauty of TV and film and music and art and theatre, that it's subjective. There you go.
Yeah, yes, for example, one thing I forgot to mention that I've been watching is the second season of Monarch,
Oh
Legacy
yeah,
of Monsters.
you love that.
It's Yes, this season is not good.
Oh
Um,
really? Oh,
this
that's a
season
shame.
is really not good. If you're going to tempt me with a Godzilla television series, I better see Godzilla. And
What do you mean?
we are on episode we just they just aired episode 8, and it was the first major Godzilla appearance. The only other
You're
time he
kidding.
basically appeared was in a dream sequence. And I'm
So
like, why
why?
are you doing this to me? Although I will say my favorite still the through line here, of course, is things Taylor Sheridan related, which is Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell in Monarch is actually quite good, and there's this great scene of, and it would take too long to explain the conceit, but through the wonders of time travel and all that kind of stuff, there is an extended episode of Kurt Russell and his son Wyatt Russell playing the same character in
That's
different
cool.
time periods, talking to each other
Oh, what?
over a walkie-talkie, and it is actually great acting. And I was like,
Cool.
why can't the rest of the show be like this? And
That's
also,
cool.
why aren't you giving me more Godzilla?
Yeah, give us
I
Godzilla.
also forgot to mention I am I finally, and I know it's going to sound weird that I waited this long to actually start watching it, but I started watching the Ted sitcom on Peacock, and it's fantastic.
Oh yeah? Okay.
Oh, the Seth
Yeah,
MacFarlane
yeah, the Seth
based on
Teddy
MacFarlane
bear
the
teddy
thing.
bear. Yeah,
Right. Okay. All
yes,
right.
all right.
Good to
it's
know.
fantastic,
It's
and
niche.
it makes me angry that I haven't finished season one yet, but they said after season two they're not doing it anymore because it's so fucking expensive to make.
Everything
Everything's
comes
just
down to
so
money.
expensive. Yeah.
Well, let's get to our top five this week. This week, our top five is going in the kind of guest theme of the week. These are short performances. These are one or two scene performances in films that are short but extraordinarily memorable. And when I was putting together my list, I don't know about all of you,
Oh,
but I
God.
had a really hard time because my list was quite extensive. So, Charlie, you get to go first this week. Give us your number five.
So I do want to preface this by saying, first of all, I will lay down $500 right now that I bet neither of you have my top two in your list.
I'm
And
excited.
to preface this,
Mm.
even to have how difficult this was, no performances from Network are in my top five.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't
Now
think we're going to
that's
have a lot of
shocking.
overlap. Yeah, that is
that
shocking. We
is.
won't have a lot of overlap.
I was as shocked as anyone. But my number five is one that did get the recognition that it deserved, and that is William Hurt's performance in A History of Violence. Oh
Yeah.
my God, is that performance just oh my god, it's so good. I love how insanely out there it is. Because at first you have Ed Harris in that movie, and Ed Harris nails every line he has. My favorite is he goes, "You should ask your husband how come he's so good at killing people." And then, but then we get the scene where Viggo Mortensen finally reunites with his brother, and William Hurt plays him as over the top as ever, talking about how he tried to strangle him in his crib and how mom got angry because of that. But then my favorite thing is when he turn is when Viggo Mortensen says to him, "Tell me, what can I do, Richie?" And Richie just goes, "You can die." And then turns his chair around. The guys try to assassinate him, but he ends up getting the best of them and fleeing. And my favorite is William Hurt turns around and just looks at the one guy who's the one guy who survives at the floor and just goes, "How do you fuck that up? How do you fuck that up?" And then shoots him in the head. I use that gif all the time. It is it is just
I'm sure you
it
do.
is a performance that is so wonderful, crazy, and oh god, it's my favorite movie of 2005. And I just adore that performance, and I was so happy that William Hurt got an Oscar nomination for that. And honestly, when the news of him passing away came a couple years ago, That was the first performance I thought of from him in a litany of amazing in a litany list of amazing performances. That's the one that always sticks out to me.
That's a good one.
Rob?
My number five is Adam Pearson in Under the Skin. British actor living with a neurofibromatosis. So he was in A Different Man a couple of years ago with Sebastian Stan.
Yes.
Wonderful actor. This movie um, was what really gave him, like a breakthrough, so that he could get other roles. And he's so wonderful in this. Scarlett Johansson's alien character picks him up, and it leads to this really crucial, like poignant interaction between them, challenging like our perceptions of disfigurement and beauty. And while most of her victims immediately they get absorbed into her black void, Pearson's character is taken to a house and spared initially. I mean, eventually, spoiler alert, he's killed later off screen. But it's a really, really fascinating interaction. I love that movie so much, and that it was that moment where it really hit me. It's just such an incredible, profound performance from him through the disfigurement that he suffers with. He's a really really interesting actor. I highly recommend the film, and I highly recommend his performance.
My number five is Drew Barrymore in Scream. Um,
Yes.
if you are going to set up a movie franchise that is based on this kind of conceit, then the fact that I still don't think any opening scene of any of the Scream movies has managed to top what Drew Barrymore does in that opening killing. The one that introduces us to Ghostface and the phone voice and do you like scary movies and all of that kind of stuff. She plays it so perfectly. It's funny, it's cheeky, it's definitely kind of like, tongue firmly planted in cheek, and yet is also, when the time comes for it to be serious and terrifying, she's not afraid to go there. And it's one of just, I think if that opening scene of that movie had not worked, then we wouldn't have the franchise that we have. Love it or hate it, and you can argue about diminishing returns, but it's iconic for a reason, and it's iconic because of Drew Barrymore. So that's my number five.
That's such a good
Charlie,
one,
number
Tony.
four.
My number four is Donald Sutherland in JFK as X. I love
Oh
My
characters.
yes.
God, that's such a
I
good one.
love characters who are the ones that are completely in control and know everything better than anybody else on screen, but they always hold their place, and they know when to exert their influence. And the scene with him walking around DC with Kevin Costner playing Garrison, explaining it just all this great dialogue. To me, that makes the screenplay of JFK, is all of Donald Sutherland's dialogue. It's not the how, it's the why, who benefits, just all raising all these questions. And I'm someone who hates JFK conspiracy theories. It's one of the reasons why I'm actually more on the negative side of JFK. I really think that all the conspiracy theories about JFK's death are pretty ridiculous, and some of the stuff about that Sutherland brings up here is actually, I think, kind of historically inaccurate, but it's still so fucking good. And it's just it's one of those roles that could have only been played by Donald Sutherland. He was made for this role. And you want to talk about? I know, Tony, you always talk about how it was a crime that he didn't get nominated for Ordinary People. For me, that the crime is this one, that he didn't get nominated for supporting actor. That I think the only Tommy Lee Jones got nominated for a bizarre performance that doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense to me. This was the one of the crown jewels of Dustin Hoffman's Dustin, why did I say that? Donald Sutherland's incredible career.
Yeah. Love that movie. I want to revisit that movie. My number four is from my favorite film, Interstellar, and that's Ellen Burstyn as Old Murph. She delivers a poignant, brief performance. She is in the beginning very, very quickly, but then she plays the elderly Murph, appearing in the film's final act to reunite with her father Cooper, and as a pioneering NASA scientist. Her older self, like, represents the success of the mission, with her final scene highlighting that love transcends time and space. Without her performance being so beautiful and grounded and emotional, the whole film really, for me, wouldn't work as well. It's minimal screen time, maximum impact, and she really carries like decades of regret and resolution in a single conversation. It is so beautiful. It always brings me to tears. Ellen Burstyn, as far as I'm concerned, can do no wrong. And this, for me, is one of her best performances, and that's saying something because she has delivered so many amazing performances. But for a brief moment, she really, really just completely nails it.
My number four might be trite because it is an Oscar-winning performance, but it's Judi Dench in Shakespeare in Love. Um,
Yeah.
Shakespeare in Love was my introduction to Judi Dench because when I was in college at the time, Mrs. Brown, didn't really, I knew of it, but it was the first Judi Dench performance that I was like, oh yay, it's Judi Dench. She was from Mrs. Brown last year. But to just see her come on for two scenes, and just wipe the floor with everybody.
So
um,
good.
you know, every arched eyebrow, every sneer, every side eye. They always say that there's a big difference between film acting and stage acting, and nobody did it as good, does it as good as Judi Dench. She can convey everything with just nothing, and when she looks right at Gwyneth Paltrow and says, "But I know something of a woman in a man's profession." She says more with that one line. Um, to me, that is the line that won her the Oscar, and I love it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Charlie,
My number three is the most recent film on my list, and that is David Lynch in The Fablemans as John
Oh
Ford.
yeah, I knew that
Oh
one. I
my
knew it.
God. Was such a brilliant reveal having
Uh,
David Lynch play John Ford in that, complete with the eye patch and the cigar smoking, and just immediately, just with his presence, yes, he brings the presence of a four-time, or no, he won more Oscars than four, but the four-time Best Director winner, and just giving and Steven Spielberg using David Lynch to transcribe the lesson that John Ford gave him. When the horizon's on the bottom, it's interesting. When the horizon's on the top, it's interesting. When the horizon's in the middle, it's boring as shit. Now, good luck to you. Get the fuck out of my office. It's just so. Oh my god, that was.
oh,
I love that. I think that was the last time we saw David Lynch on screen. And what a performance! It was just. I love the tongue in cheek of using David Lynch to portray this role. It's just so perfect, and that was it. It was tough because it was tough because also I think Judd Hirsch maybe in technically three scenes, but he's excellent. But he's so fucking great in that movie. But David Lynch, that was all I was thinking of after that movie. Was just I was just blown away by that, and it left a smile on my face for at least a week.
oh, geez, that's such a good one. Okay, so talking about leaving a smile, my number three is something I will watch from time to time if I'm in a bad mood and make me happy, and that is Melissa McCarthy in This Is 40. She has two scenes generally, but the big one is she turns this brief parent teacher interaction into this escalating chaos that feels so real. Like, she plays an aggressive, unpredictable mother confronting Pete, played by Paul Rudd, and Debbie, played by Leslie Mann, in a principal's office meeting. And the scene consists largely of just heavily improvised, profane rant against a school administrator. And a significant portion of the improvised stuff is shown during the end credits. And like, She says some really crazy batshit things, but like for example, she'll be like, "I'm gonna slit somebody open and drink their blood. That's what I'm gonna drink." And then she says to the administrator, "I'm glad your husband died. You're a fucking asshole. He probably killed himself." And Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann are pissing themselves laughing. They can't. They keep breaking scene. And Melissa
The
McCarthy
outtakes
just
are
keeps
amazing.
going. She just keeps going. She is the goat. She is one of the funniest people on this planet. She can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. And this, like, they deployed her very sparingly, but she just makes the movie. Please, I beg you all, go and watch it if you haven't seen it.
My number three makes me smile, but in a completely nostalgic way. And bear with me here because my number three is Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, but not as Bert. When I was watching Mary Poppins as a child, I was like, oh, yay, Dick Van Dyke, yay, Julie Andrews, oh, here we go. And then you get to the bank when Mr. Banks, when George Banks is fired, and he's fired by the old and decrepit bank manager who was played by Dick Van Dyke. And as a child, I did not know that that was Dick Van Dyke because, as a child, you don't sit through the credits. You don't go, who was playing, Mr. Dawes Sr. And it wasn't until I was probably a teenager that I learned that Dick Van Dyke was playing Mr. Dawes Sr. And,
Oh yeah.
he does this like heaving laugh, this, when he laughs, he just opens his mouth a little bit, goes, it just makes me so happy. And then to see him come back in Mary Poppins Returns, which is a highly underrated movie in my opinion, have him come back as Mr. Dawes Jr., only this time he's actually the right age, just makes me so happy. Yeah, it's a deep cut, but if I'm talking about something that I find memorable, Dick Van Dyke playing the old bank manager for kids who didn't know it was Dick Van Dyke, it was just magic to me. Charlie, number two.
My number two, this is probably one of the deepest cuts, but it is Danielle Brooks in Clemency.
Mm.
If Danielle Brooks has two scenes in Clemency, she plays the ex-girlfriend of Aldous Hodge's character who's on death row and is about to be executed. He calls her up and she comes in for an absolutely heart-wrenching scene. And it's amazing. The first time you only hear her because you hear her on the other end of the phone, and you think there might be some hope for whatever this relationship was, but then there isn't. But Danielle Brooks does what Danielle Brooks does, and Danielle Brooks does does not know how to give a bad performance. She is so incredible in everything she's in, and she brings such amazing rawness and vulnerability to this character. It was in a movie that was filled with amazing performances, especially Alfred Woodard. She stands out. She is incredible in that performance and blew my mind when she showed up on screen. Just a beautiful performance.
Oh, I'll go check that out. Um, I'm cheating. I have a tie for my number two, and that's because they are thematically related. They are women who have car accidents and die because they've seen something so horrifying. So that's the thing. Bear with me. So the tie is Sarah Paulson in Bird Box 2018. First couple of scenes in the movie, her sudden unraveling in the car with Sandra Bullock reflects this terror before the film fully locks into what it becomes, survival mode and blah blah blah. She, they have the car accident. She gets out of the car. Her eyes are bloodshot. She looks back at Sandy Bullock, and then she steps in front of the truck. I was just like, like that would not have worked without Sarah Paulson's brilliance as an actor. It is so good. It gives me goosebumps. I just think it's so perfect. It's the best opening for a movie I've seen in a long time. The other one, similarly, is a bit more of a deep cut. That's 2002, Deborah Messing in The Mothman Prophecies. If you haven't seen that, please go and check it out. It's not that well known, but she plays Richard Gere's wife, who dies of a brain tumor following a car accident, which is caused by this mysterious sighting of the Mothman. So in her hospital scene, there's lots of close-ups of her eye, and she is so psychologically scarred and terrified and traumatized and in shock from what she saw, the nefarious Mothman. And although brief, the scenes are intended to, I guess, establish the emotional weight of her husband's grief and his subsequent obsession with this paranormal phenomenon of finding this Mothman, this mythological beast that is haunting this town. And Deborah Messing delivers, man. Like, she is so good in what she does in lots of other shows and films, but when I saw that, I was just like, we need to give her more credit. She's not just a comedic actress; she really delivers. So that both those women have really stuck with me, and so that's my shared number two.
I also have a shared number two, and
Ah,
again,
good.
back to basic bitch territory. Beatrice Straight and Ned Beatty and Network. Sorry, not sorry.
It's got to be done.
You can't have two of the greatest short performances in history, one of them winning an Oscar, basically the shortest Oscar-winning performance in history, and are so imminently quotable. I mean, people of a certain age, I don't care whether you're gay, straight, male, female, I don't care. If you're a true movie fan, you've had an argument with someone and said, "I'm your wife, damn it." And
Or
if you
you
can't
have
develop a
meddled with
winter
the
passion for
primal
me,
forces
forces of nature,
of
and you will
nature.
atone.
Yeah. Yes.
What more needs to be said? I mean, they're iconic. They're iconic performances that, they'll still be talking about those performances 100 years from now. All right, Charlie, I'm really interested to see because I
Here we are.
really cannot
Okay.
imagine what your number one is.
I know.
Okay, so I do have to say one of my favorite parts of Beatrice Straight's performance in Network is, and it says everything you need to know about the history of her relationship with William Holden's character. It's when William Holden is talking about all the scripts that she has, that Faye Dunaway's character has. He goes, "There's one script in which I kill myself, an adapted for TV version of Anna Karenina, where she's Count Vronsky and I'm Anna," and she chuckles. She can't help but chuckle. And it says everything about that 25-year relationship. And then she goes, you're in for a hell of a lot of grief, Max."
Thanks.
I do have to run down some honorable mentions, so bear with me here. But I
Good,
am
good.
surprised at these honorable mentions that have not been brought up yet. Christopher
Well,
Walken in Pulp Fiction,
oh yeah.
The Watch. I hit this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass for 5 years. Billy Crystal and Carol Kane in The Princess Bride. Bye
Yes.
bye, boys. Have fun storming the castle. Viola Davis in Doubt. Brian
Yeah.
Tyree Henry in If Beale Street Could Talk. Gene
Mhm.
Hackman in Young Frankenstein. Dean Stockwell in Blue Velvet, one of the most chilling lip syncs I
Oh
have
my
ever
God.
seen in that movie. Rob, I'm surprised you haven't brought this one up. Gloria Foster as the Oracle in The Matrix. Um, Patrick Fischler in Mulholland Drive. He plays the guy in the diner who sees the monster.
Oh my
And
God.
Vanessa Redgrave in Atonement. But my number
Oh my
one,
God.
it's one in my it's a personal favorite for mine. You probably know this guy more for his performance in Only Murders in the Building, but Michael Cyril Crichton has two scenes in the movie Spotlight. He plays the first victim who Rachel McAdams interviews, and
Yeah.
he happens to be a gay person who was abused by a priest. And the way he tells his story about how this priest saw that he was this gay kid and lonely and seeking, and that he took advantage of that in a way that's just utterly heartbreaking and just moved me to tears when I saw that movie. And I wasn't even halfway through the fucking movie, and I was already a wreck. His performance gets to why that film works so well for me. It's because I remember when those stories were first coming out from the Boston Globe, and it made me so. I'm not a Catholic, and I'm not someone who's experienced sexual assault, but it made me so angry, and that performance in Spotlight really, to me, highlights the. I mean, there's so many levels of the cruelty of what these monsters were doing, but to me, that really encapsulates to me just really how truly angry I felt from reading those stories. And I think he gives an utterly heartbreaking, especially when he has to go into detail when he says to Rachel McAdams, "Well, he molested me," and Rachel McAdams says, we need to know the details. We need to know exactly what he did," and it just utterly breaks your heart in a movie filled with insanely amazing performances. Um, if Stanley Tucci had maybe two less scenes, he would be on this list. Um, Michael Cyril Crichton is one that always sticks out to me. I apologize for taking so much time on that. I know last week I dragged for a lot of fans of this show, but I had to, and that's my personal number
That's
one.
okay. Yeah, we got a bit of criticism last week, and on that note, sorry. And also, by the way, if Tony and me or Charlie are not looking at the screen for 5 minutes, just get over it. Like, we're human beings, and we're usually like looking up things that we can talk about.
It's
So
called multitasking,
it
people.
is. It's okay. It's all good. Let's be nice to each other. Now, I have four honorable mentions, and I'll be very quick. Charlotte Rampling in Dune as the Reverend Mother.
Yes.
So menacing, and she really just
Yes.
so restrained. I love it. Gwyneth Paltrow in Contagion. I still have nightmares about when she dies in that second scene. Oh, it's just, oh, it kills me. That movie. I used to think it was like sci-fi, and then we had the pandemic. I was like, oh, that was really similar. So really good performance. Julianne Moore in Children of Men, just fantastic, and then exits with just this horrifying sudden violence and car. And Gloria Foster as the Oracle in The Matrix. Really grounds in mythology. With something human, she's warm, she's playful, she's quietly omniscient. Very good.
Have a cookie.
Have a cookie.
I will never forget her saying that.
I'll never forget her. But my number one always has been, and probably always will be. I'm just going to say the quote, and I want to see if you both know who I'm talking about. Okay, ready? This is me acting. Wipe that smoke off your face. Where's that from? That would be Bruce McGill as Ron Motley in The Insider. It's this single deposition scene that detonates the whole film. It's so good. He turns this legal questioning into theater, and he cuts through the corporate spin and the smirking with precision and bite, and he tells his opposing counsel to wipe that smirk off his face. When I saw that film back in 1999, I was already impressed with the score, Russell Crowe, Al Pacino, and then this Ron Motley character, Bruce McGill. And after that, I've been always looking out for Bruce McGill. He's such a journeyman actor. He's never really had the big breakthrough where he gets nominated for things or he's, that well known, but everyone knows his face. He's one of those. He's like what Margot Martindale used to be before she became such a huge star. So highly recommend Bruce McGill in The Insider. Like as a lawyer, I'm down for that. I love it when lawyers are portrayed like that in film. So there you go.
I have two honorable mentions. One, Alec Baldwin in Glengarry Glen Ross.
Oh my God, yes.
A scene that was not
down.
in the
coffee is for closers.
A scene that is not in the original play.
It's not. It blew my mind when I saw the revival a couple of years ago.
Yeah, you're like, where's the set of steak knives? for funsies as a child of the '80s, watching Bob Barker kick Adam Sandler's ass in Happy Gilmore.
Oh my God, how can I forget that? It's
I
so
know.
priceless. You know who trained him, right?
Who?
You know who Chuck Norris.
Who?
Chuck Norris trained him
Really?
for that.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, at least Chuck Norris serves some purpose on this planet.
Now you've had enough.
Wow.
But my number one might be considered a deep cut, but it was the first thing that came to my mind when we talked about this category, and that is an actor named Steve Park in a single scene of Fargo. He plays
Oh,
Mike, the guy that Marge, Frances McDormand, has a random dinner with, and he talks about how his wife died and he's so lonely, and he tries to sit next to Marge in the restaurant, and she's like, "No, why don't you go back over, sit over there? I think that would be better." Um,
Oh
and
my
it's
God, that's a
such
great one.
I remember this scene so vividly, watching this movie going, why is this scene in the movie? Like, and then it clicks because that is the key that unlocks everything for Marge Gunderson to go back and think, oh, well, people really lie really easily when she finds out that this guy who told this really sad story about his dead wife turns out, no, his wife's fine. I saw her a couple of weeks ago. Um,
Wow.
it's one scene that I think is what makes an already good movie, an already fantastic movie, and puts it into classic territory. Because I remember very vividly in 1997 that there were people that were like, why is this scene in the movie? And I think that film is a perfect example of how something that might seem insignificant can actually be the key to unlock everything else. And I think, without that scene, Fargo's a great movie. And with that scene, Fargo is a masterpiece. And that was the first scene that popped into my head. I had to go
Wow.
look up his name because I was like, as soon as we proposed this category, I was like, oh, Mike from Fargo. That's
Yeah,
who
yeah, I did the same for
that's
Ron.
got to be my number one. And I had to go up and look. So Steve Park,
Do you
bravo,
see?
sir.
Do you see how like these limited performances? I don't like the word limited, but cameo limited screen time. They're important. Like the really good ones do unlock the thematic elements of the film, and they do stay with you if they're good enough, well written, and well performed. I'm so glad that we were able to shine a light on these because they don't really get enough attention. I wish there was a category for them because they're important.
Yes, yes,
best
just
bit performance. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Just proves that there are no small parts unless you're Donald
Nope.
Trump. Um,
Oh no.
come
Come
at me,
at me.
bitches.
Yeah.
You know the number, dial it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not saying it
that
this
is
time.
no, we don't need to. We don't need to. That is our show this week. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing and hitting that alert button. Please leave us a 5-star review. We will read it on the show. Send us an email with your pithy complaints and criticisms. If they're too long-winded, I'm going to edit them. Awards7@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with a special guest and another top five. Until then, have a great week, everybody. We will see you next week on the Award 7 podcast.
Bye.